Hello everyone, and welcome back to Modern Warships with Terry. We have already looked at surface warfare, obviously, and we've looked at submarine, underwater shenanigans. What we haven't looked at so far yet is the air. And, I have one carrier that I have played so far in the game, and that's the USS Nimitz, the lead ship of her class of supercarriers. Now, the Nimitz is a nuclear-powered carrier, which means that, well, she's effectively good with one charge of fuel for about 20 years and doesn't really have to come back a lot to port in order to refuel, and was considered at the time just really like an amazing piece of technology and force projection, and still is to a degree today. The Nimitz is actually the oldest aircraft carrier in the world that is still active, which might be surprising, as my first would have thought it's the Admiral Kuznetsov from that is currently sailing for the Russian Navy. But Kuznetsov is actually newer than the Nimitz. The Nimitz is a mid-1970s ship and is currently still in active service. So aircraft carriers generally, the idea with an aircraft carrier is that you can bring, well, aircraft close to enemy positions with having something to land on and having something to support them. So it's more than just being able to launch airstrikes into things, because ships can't really do anything inland, and aircraft carriers generally are considered a core of a carrier strike group. So they wouldn't sail by themselves. There would usually be a whole lot of stuff around them. I mean, back in the Second World War, it would be things like light cruisers and eventually fast battleships that would be escorting aircraft carriers. Because one thing you don't want to do in an aircraft carrier is, well, lose the aircraft carrier, because these things are very big, very expensive, and are some of the core of their respective strike groups. So something like the Nimitz would usually sail around with a whole bunch of Arleigh Burke-class destroyers for things like air defense and any kind of battle space control. Which makes it interesting to play it in a 5v5 battle. I don't think there is actually a carrier matching in the matchmaking, so you actually end up having carriers. You might have 3 carriers on one team and no carriers at all on the other team, which again must make sense because carriers by themselves are reasonably vulnerable. So let's have a look at what this ship actually contains. We have 3 air groups. There's 1 helicopter, in this case it's an Osprey. We've got 1 group of fighters and 1 group of strike planes. There's something very odd going on here, because the Nimitz in-game is using the F-15N Eagle. This didn't exist. And I'm rather surprised, because I would have expected the F-14 Tomcat here, because that would have made sense, especially if it's an older ship, or the Super Hornet. So let's talk about these very briefly. So the original, I think the original Nimitz, I'm not 100% sure what she was sailing, but I would assume it would have probably been Tomcats or the older F2 Phantoms. But the Tomcats were very, very good planes, but they were also very big and expensive. So in terms of cost saving, people were thinking, or the Navy was thinking, can we get something that is a little bit smaller, because we might not need a fully fledged Tomcat for the everything. And that's how they came up with the Hornet. The Hornets were smaller. The Hornets were cheaper. They didn't have the firepower or the range of a Tomcat, but you don't always need it. So they were made to accompany the Tomcats. The F-15N, the naval version, the Sea Eagle, was a design sketch or a proposal that was made to see if we can find a successor for the Tomcat, because you already have the obvious F-15s in the Air Force, but the Navy didn't use these things ever. And it was put down because the plane itself would have needed a lot of rework, stronger landing gear, stronger arrestor hooks, all kind, and it didn't fit. So because the wings were too large, so they would have had to make foldy wings for these things, which actually let's see if they actually ended up doing that here. No, they didn't. So these would have had to have foldy wings, because they wouldn't have necessarily fitted into the hangar base. And eventually, so that never happened. And the eventual successor to the Tomcat became the Super Hornet, which is the FA-18 Super Hornet. And so it's a fighter / attack aircraft. So it's a multi-role fighter. Can be both used in an air superiority role and can be used in a ground or sea attack role. And yeah, the Super Hornet isn't actually very similar to the Hornet, other than by name. It's most of it's actually a different aircraft, but it was they kind of pulled a 737 here and said, yeah, it's really just like a slightly bigger Hornet, but under the hood it was actually mostly a somewhat different aircraft in the end. So I'm really surprised that we have the never existing F-15N Eagle here in this alternate universe, but okay, it is what it is. We have one Osprey. The strike groups, even though it says there's one of them, it usually contains 3 planes in a wing once you actually send them out. This thing has a bunch of autocannons and a bunch of AA defense, really. A whole lot for a tier 2 ship. So we've got 2 slots, and she originally comes with 3 Phalanx Seaways and with 4 anti-aircraft missiles. I think this is actually almost what the Nimitz would be still sailing with the RIM 116s. But yeah, that's about it. So you don't have anything to defend yourself from torpedoes. You have a whole lot of air defense, but you have the offense completely relies on the planes. Now, obviously, if we're looking at these planes, one thing that strikes me as slightly odd is that, and I haven't upgraded the ship very much yet, as you can see, is that while you can upgrade the same as with the helicopters, while you can upgrade things like hit points, speed, and maneuverability and such, you have no way of upgrading the damage. So unlike other weapon systems where you can actually almost double the damage numbers, you can't do that with planes, really. So and I think we're going to have to look at the equipment shop to actually find out what these things are loading. So we've got the Hornet, which obviously has a machine gun and some Falcons, so air-to-air missiles, but that's it. So these things actually are not necessarily capable of dealing anything to the to ships or anything similar. And for that, we're going to have to look at the strike fighters, which once again is the never existing F-15N, the naval version, which gets a 30mm cannon that you definitely can use against ships. It gets guided missiles, and it gets unguided bombs. I personally find the unguided bombs extremely difficult to use. I rarely hit anything with it, but the missiles have a very, very good range. You can't quite see it here because we don't actually get any data on these, but the missiles have an excellent range. So you can actually use these in a standoff manner, just beyond the range of enemy AA, and that's generally also how I'm using these. All right. So how do you play a carrier? Well, let's take a look. So while we're waiting for the other players to come in, what is it that you do in a carrier? Well, there's several things you do. It depends on what the enemy team has. Your main roles are scouting, air superiority, and obviously air strikes. Now, I am launching everything right here, and you see I've got 3 air groups out. I'm currently controlling the Hornets because there is an enemy carrier in play, and I want to see if I can shut that carrier down. And there's the enemy. There's an enemy group. I don't know if this is a strike group or if this is an air superiority group, but I'm going after them. And these air-to-air missiles are extremely fast in reloading, and this looks like a strike group, so I'm completely shutting that down. Now the thing is, if you lose your strike group, it takes an awful long time to actually respawn that. And in the meantime, now I'm switching over to the Eagles. In the meantime, the computer will play for you on the other groups that are in the air, so on your helicopter and on your ship. Right. So I'm now getting the radar missiles on to lock on, and what you want to do is, if you're moving forward, if you're pushing the stick all the way up, you are boosting an afterburner, and you see that's what I'm doing here. And if you pull it back, then you are slowing down. Now I've just lost my complete strike group, so you've seen what happened there, but that's okay. I'm just going to shut down once again the enemy carrier. There is a group of enemy planes, so I'm just going to go chasing after them while my my Eagles are reloading, and then once they're ready again, once another strike group is ready, I'm going to go off with that again, because I'm right now not in any danger, and I'm keeping everybody spotted, including the carrier, who's taking fire not just from me but from everybody else, because things you can't see, you can't shoot at. And now we're straight on the 6th of this. I'm still not sure if it's a fighter group, but whatever it is, we've got them down. So it's going to take him a while, and meanwhile my Eagles have respawned, so now I can take control of these again, which means the fighters are going to go after other air targets. Now, if you're using the HARM anti-radar missiles, you want to, as much as possible, stay out of the AA range. So it's good to know what the AA range on enemy things is. So you see here, I'm getting rather close, so I'm slowing down as much as possible. And once I am actually starting to come under air attack, I'm punching the afterburner again and trying to get out of the AA. Now, you see that one of my Eagles is harmed quite a bit, so I am going back to my carrier. You see that green column that's floating above my carrier? If I fly through that, even if I have just one very badly damaged plane in the group, they all get instantly repaired and all their weapons rearmed. So now I'm leaving the Eagles to the computer player just to see if I can get my Hornets up again. But it looks like the enemy Kuznetsov is going to be down in a second, and I've just got a couple other things to work with. So yeah, be aware of the AA range of enemy ships and try to. And I think you see the Russian in the chat there. He was rather pissed about that. I haven't done a large amount of damage, but I have spotted early, and I have suppressed the enemy carrier. So it's quite hectic, and you kind of need to keep track of what it is that you need to be doing. And since it is so hectic, we'll do a second one. Now, once again, we're back on Greenlands here. Yeah, because it is so hectic, you do need to kind of keep track of what it is that you want to do. And for air superiority, it is actually really useful to shut down the enemy strike group. Once again, there's a carrier in an enemy team, so I am controlling the Hornets. I'm launching everything, which means the computer player is going to control the Eagles. But since there's nothing spotted, the Eagles are just going to be circling over my carrier. And I am going out on a spotting mission, and in order to shut down the carrier. If there was no enemy carrier in play, there comes the enemy air group, so that's my focus right now. If there was no carrier in play, then I wouldn't be using the Hornets. I would just let them free roam and shoot down enemy helicopters. But right now, I am just shredding through that air group. There's the enemy carrier, and that's the Hornets dealt with. That's the enemy air group dealt with. There's another one over there, and just checking. Yep, there they are. And I'm trying to shut these down because it does take such a long time to get them out of the way. And now I'm switching back over to my Eagles. In the meantime, the computer player has sent them over to the enemy Kuznetsov. So this is something I can actually hit with bombs. So we'll drop some bombs on his flight deck. I wouldn't usually go for a carrier because carriers have a lot of AA. But here you see it once again. I'm kind of getting out as much as possible out of AA range. Then I'm circling back around. You need to be facing in, and then slowing down as much as possible to get both the missiles and my guns away. And that's the carrier taken care of. Now I've still got a bit of ammo left. There's an Indian destroyer down there that we can launch something at, but I am taking a lot of damage. So I've gone in too far here, and I'm about to lose my whole strike group, which is a bit unfortunate, because if I could have flown it back, I could have repaired it. On the other hand, I'm so far away from my own carrier that at this point it probably doesn't matter that much anymore. I'm just trying to afterburn out of this with my rather damaged ones, but it looks like he had missiles on AA defense, so right now I have nothing to play with, which is fine. I'm just going to wait for someone to respawn, and the Hornets should be about respawned. So we're going to get these up into the air again. Even if there's no carrier in play, no enemy carrier in play, you can let them shoot down helicopters. So it's always use them. Okay, the enemy carrier is rather annoyed about that. He had no support, no AA support early on, and no support in general. But my Eagles are back up, and I'm actually moving the ship now. If you're putting your ship in neutral, you're not actually going to, and let's see if we can snipe that submarine before it goes underwater. Nope, we can't. Oh no, he might be dead there. Okay, nice. if you are moving if you're putting your carrier into forward, it will actually, the computer player will actually sail your carrier. Now the reason I'm moving there is because there's a bunch of destroyers, 2 of them down here, and it's a Panteleiev, and that thing has a lot of AA and generally a lot of firepower. And what is the other thing there? Well, it's 2 of them. So we're doing well to just stay out of their AA range as much as possible, and return to the carrier once we've taken some damage. Now you've seen here, I'm probably down to about half health, and I haven't expended all my ammo, but I need to make sure that my planes don't die. And yeah, you see it? A bunch of the missiles from the Panteleivs have actually hit me, and now my planes are back to 3, and they're taking damage again immediately. But if you're staying close to the carrier and working with your stand of ammunition, you can actually do a reasonable amount of damage, and then very, very quickly get your planes, get the health back up and get your planes rearmed. So once again, I'm just harping onto this guy, and once I'm in an AA range, I'm backing off, putting them back into afterburner. Yep, and there comes the Russian AA, as you can see, very, very quickly mowing these down. So even though I still have ammo, it's about time now. I just want to get back, heal and rearm, and then do the whole thing all over again. Now the carriers are very, very slow, and they don't maneuver very well. So it's really no point in controlling your own carrier, but you can put, well, you can put the engines on, and then the computer player will control them for you. And I'm just trying to do as much damage as I can, because these 2 are closing in on me, so there's probably my last chance right now that I'm going to get to actually do anything against them. Just trying to get behind the island and see if I can get another heal off from the carrier before they kill me, because my carrier is obviously coming under fire. I have to get actually through that Panteleiev to do so, so I might lose my squadron here. But once again, I'm actually going to be dead anyway, so there's not very much else I can do. But we still got him. And by the looks of it, yeah. So if the carrier is dead, you cannot control the planes or anything anymore. But yeah, in short summary, these are the things you want to do in a carrier. So if there's an enemy carrier around, use your strike group to scout, and to use your air superiority fighters to scout, and to scouting is so important, because if you can see the enemy ships and they can't see you, your people can start lobbing missiles. And the enemy can't. If you get an early scout off, it is an enormous benefit for the whole team. So scouting is super important, and your planes are faster than the frigates, so you are going to be quicker on that. And then yes, if there's an enemy carrier in play, you use the air superiority fighters to shut down their strike groups, which puts them on a timeout for about half a minute until they can launch another one, and then switch back over to your own strike groups and start doing some damage. And if you are doing damage, you afterburn into range of your weapons, and then pull it back all the way to slow down as much as possible while you're on the attack run, and then just bob and weave and try to afterburn out of there again. Don't try not to lose your strike group, and try to get back to your carrier to have them rearmed and have them healed up. So yeah, that's carrier gameplay. Now, I have heard that the Nimitz is probably the single worst carrier in the game. I'm not sure, I haven't played the other ones yet. But it's certainly a fun and interesting aspect. It's a really nice third dimension. And if you are playing in a destroyer or anything else, just remember, carrier strike groups need to be protected, because the carrier itself doesn't have much defense, especially against torpedoes. Submarines are so annoying against carriers. Make sure that you're playing your role. If you're in a frigate or something and there's a submarine targeting your carrier, go and hunt that thing. Anything that has torpedoes, anything that has a helicopter with sonar, because most carriers, I think, cannot really do much about submarines. So yeah, that's carrier gameplay, and that's it for today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye.